What is the minimum investment required to become a professional mixing and mastering engineer in 2026? That's what we're going to be discussing today on the Working Audio Tools. Welcome to a new year. How is everyone? Let us know in the comments. We hope you're well. Thank you for following us on this journey and turning up every week so consistently. I'm always amazed, Paul, for something so niche as what we nerd out about in such a niche part of a small industry, how many people show up every week to listen, and the fact that we get about 10,000 people listening to us every month is mad.
Crazy, man. Crazy.
On that blonde bombshell so early on in an episode, what do you think is the minimum investment required to be a professional mixing and mastering engineer? And I'll tell you what's inspired this conversation for you?
Because it's a new year, I was thinking a lot about, not getting distracted by gear this year. And then I was sitting there looking at my studio and I was thinking of everything I've got. And I'm in a place where I was like, look, I've managed to play the YouTube game very well. And
I think we both have.
Yeah, and I've played the game very well, and I have more than what I need. But obviously with me having the Discord, there are loads and loads and loads of people that are starting out that are always asking me, look, Paul, I have a very, very, very small budget and I want to do this professionally and I want to be able, to do it to the best of my ability, but, within my budget. So I thought it would be a good video to see if we can talk about the minimum, realistic budget that you can have to, to invest to do this professionally. Obviously, it's subjective at the end of the day, but I thought that me and Ed would talk about what we would advise and break it down into kind of little chunks, and then hopefully from that, use listening can have a bit of a better idea of kind of how much roughly, because I can't put a figure on it yet until we go through it, how much you would probably be thinking to invest financially. But we'll also do a little bit about investing your time as well, because the two of them the two coincide very closely. So Ed, let's see. The first thing that you're going to need, and the most important thing is, by the way, for anybody that gets annoyed by this cable, yes, I know it annoys me too. I get comments of people talking about, God's sake, get that cable away. That is what it is. I can't be bothered. Just deal with it, right? But let's think about monitoring, Ed. So to do it professionally.
Whoa! We've jumped ahead several stages here.
Okay. I'll let you start then. Okay, you start then.
My number one is obviously the best computer you can afford.
Okay, starting basic, right? Proper basic.
My suggestion would be future-proof yourself with as good a Mac as you can get. And I think after that, it becomes very subjective.
So why would you say, but even just to kind of quickly circle back to that, why would you say it's important to make such a good investment from a professional level? Now, this isn't us saying to make music. The main word here is professional, right? To do this professionally as a business. So why would you say investing a lot of money in your computer is so important from a business perspective?
Something that's fast, reliable, stable, and up-to-date, that can run all the current up-to-date DAWs and plugins that you may encounter on your journey to being professional or as a professional. You can't be on an old Mac that can't run the latest plugins that people are sending you. You can't have a restricted workflow because your Pro Tools is crashing because you don't have the, RAM to support larger sessions. Just don't. My strongest suggestion would be don't let your computer be the bottleneck in your system.
Yep, 100%. Totally agreed. So, I mean, for me, the minimum requirement, I would say personally, would be a MacBook Pro M1. That would be the minimum that I'd say you could get away with. Minimum. But I wouldn't go with other laptops. Maybe you can get like an AMD Ryzen kind of thing and make your own thing up and get a custom build. But I would say that from a professional standpoint, I know for a fact that if my desktop system completely went to shit, then I could easily make it work professionally on the MacBook Pro. The MacBook Pros the M1s are very good because their processor power is very, very good. And just make sure again that you make sure you've got enough hard drive space, and make sure that you've got maybe even like a cloud subscription or something like that, because from a professional level, we have spoke about this before, storage is really, really important, and having a backup for your backup is so important, because the last thing you want to do is be in a session, something goes wrong, you've not got a backup, and you can't get back to it, or it could be a recall, somebody goes, no, what were this song that were released, it's been signed, it's been picked up, and they want a remix or a remaster, and you're like, shit, I don't have the session. They'll never come back to you ever again, and they'll tell everybody, don't go with them. So yeah, I'd say computer from that point of view is very important, processing power wise, and again, storage space as well. So what would be the next thing, Ed, minimum investment for professional mix and mastering?
DAW.
Yeah.
And choice of DAW. Depends how far you want to go up the chain, really. I got onto Pro Tools because I had an assistant role dangled in front of me that sadly didn't come to anything. But I was happy to learn. Oh my God, it was painful learning Pro Tools at the beginning.
Had 10 years
Now
of
I
it.
love it. Now I love it, and I wouldn't change it. But I mean, there are things in it I would change, obviously. But I feel comfortable that I have fluidity in that is generally regarded as the industry standard tool.
Yeah.
Logic as well, I've also felt is useful, but for me, that's been more of a recording and a production tool. I only mix and master in Pro Tools now. However, you have to work with what your peers and, your clients are going to be working with. So, in mine and Paul's case, if that's Studio One, so we can get a business up and running, I need to be learning Studio One as well, but I'll probably just import the Pro Tools key commands into Studio One.
Now, to give you a bit of an update, because I just realised I've not even told Ed this. So I've got a lot of subscriptions to go, and I've been thinking, right, what can I get rid of, right? So the Mix with the Masters one, I'm finished with it. I've watched a lot of videos. I've not actually got that much from them, to be honest with you, right? I think you learning from your own experience is way more important. A few things I've taken from it, but not much. Still, Mix with the Masters is purposely done in a way where it doesn't show you everything, right, for me personally. So what I'm going to do is I am going to make the decision from a business perspective, as we spoke about a little while ago, is that obviously as a business, you've got to invest, and I am going to get a Pro Tools subscription because it is really important, and I know I've been so stubborn. I need to get a Pro Tools subscription, so we're going to have. So I'm going to stay on Studio One, okay, but I'm going to go back. So I'm going to have Studio One and Pro Tools, because at the end of the day, the last thing I want is to lose out on label work because I don't have Pro Tools. So it could be a thing where a session comes through and they're like, right, here's the Pro Tools session, and Ed's like, well, I'm going to have to mix it, and I'm going to have to then bounce stems and blah blah blah. Paul, we just need to have Pro Tools, so I'm going to go get it. It kills me because I hate Pro Tools. But
this is.
I know.
So do I need to be on Studio One?
No, what
Pro Tools has a collaboration feature.
I think I'm still to make my mind up, right? Maybe a thing where we just do fucking Pro Tools. As much as it kills me, we might just do Pro Tools. I know. But it's business, right? If I'm doing my own mixing, then it's Studio One. But at the end of the day, from a professional point of view, I do know that my own stubbornness can sometimes be, a detriment to myself. And I do know that as much as I hate Pro Tools to its core, the reality is there is going to be work that I may be missing out on, which is for the two of us missing out on as well in a joint business. That, if a producer's got a session and they don't want to export stems, and they're like, this is the plugins and blah, 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 the way that Serban and many other engineers receive it, then I need to be on Pro Tools. So my DAW of choice would be if, they don't have the session, I would personally rather mix it on Studio One because I've got the shortcuts and blah, blah, blah. But if it's a thing where it has to be Pro Tools, then, so me and Ed will be Pro Tools and hopefully still Studio One, because I still think having a personal DAW of your own choice, that everything's done for your workflow wise and it just works for you really well. Because again, I don't think Pro Tools, and maybe not because I've not used Pro Tools in a while, but when I used to do it, it was the worst DAW CPU wise for me. When I used to use it, it was shit. Studio One was a big jump up, and then it's even got even better because they're utilising the cores better. How's it been? How's Pro Tools been for you, CPU-wise, compared to Logic?
I can't say I noticed a difference going from Logic to Pro Tools on my M1, but Pro Tools to Pro Tools on my M4, not having a problem.
Okay, yeah, I would imagine that with an M4. I would imagine that.
Yeah. Now, it looked like I was celebrating there with Paul getting back onto Pro Tools. Purely because I never had more excitement, elation. So I never thought I'd see the day when Paul would go back to Pro Tools. But I mean, we've digressed. We should pick this up in another episode about our business. But I think from an industry point of view, that is a wise decision.
That is.
So DAW's discussed, and we've landed on that Pro Tools is the industry standard. But if you're not on Pro Tools, this is not to say you have to be. You don't have to be. If you're mixing on your own, as Paul said, if he's mixing on his own, mastering on his own, he will use Studio One, and that's fine. But if you are getting industry sessions in from a label, more than likely it is going to be Pro Tools. Yeah. So it is worth considering. And I'm actually grateful I had that carrot dangled, because I would not be on Pro Tools by a long shot unless I had that carrot dangled. And I'm glad I have, because it did take me a year to start getting comfortable, 2 years to get fluid on it, I think.
Yeah, totally.
So DAW's sorted. I guess we could go down the software chain a bit. Plugins. Just get the Fab Filter bundle and you can mix and master anything. There we go. End of that chapter. Monitoring. Now, this is where it's going to go in two ways, isn't it? Yeah. Speakers and headphones. I would like to jump in quickly and just say the cheapest way to do this, I think, professionally, would be the Topping DX5. You don't even need an audio interface if you're not recording. Topping DX5 Mark III, whatever it is, 2. And a couple of sets of headphones. For me, that would be the Nanos and the MX4s. I'll pick your brains on a cheaper solution than the MX4s later, because I know there's a Hypherman recommendation for about half the price. And maybe just the Angry Boxes, you know? Mm-hmm. And crucially, Mix to Mobile, the application that lets you stream from your DAW to your phone. And then from your phone, you can listen on your phone on an Anchor soundbar. This fucking thing, Paul knows. This makes, if you've got a problem in your mix, this tells you you're shit at mixing, doesn't it, Paul?
Yeah, it does. That's a brutal mixes.
It's horribly brutal. And then obviously you can listen on your AirPods and other headphones. So I think you could do all this without a big set of speakers, because as soon as you go down the speaker route, you've got to embrace room acoustics. And it's a whole load of oh my God. Yeah. Money through the roof. You know, room correction software. Yeah, there's definitely a cheaper way of doing this.
I suppose this is where I like the way that conversations could go. If you think about a business perspective from a minimum requirement, and again, Paul Ashmore from Studio Animals made a video, I think it was this week, talking about having a lot of equipment is really good for your marketing. So going down the headphone route for you, Ed, right? Would you say that headphone mixing for you is in a place? I would say it's not, in terms of the market, where people don't know enough about headphone mixing to know that they can trust it. So a part of me goes, professionally, quality-wise, yeah, you can teach yourself how to mix and master professionally on headphones if you do it a set way, you know, and that's why we've got mix phones to educate people on that. But from a marketing point of view, would you still say that investing in a good room and investing in a good pair of speakers is still an important thing for clients to understand why they should go with you? Or do you think that the marketing side of it is that important for somebody looking to invest into a mix and mastering business professionally? What's your views on that side of it?
I think if you need to spam social media with content, shouting from the rooftop, having a bigger, better studio than everyone else to get clients, then yes, maybe it is worth it. But it's almost like, unless you've got the big, super impressive, nicely lit studio, there's almost no point advertising that. Mm-hmm. But I would argue that question is coming with a lens from an engineer's perspective of gauging other people's studios and other people's businesses.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The average client, I would have thought, I mean, I've not had one client ask me what I'm mixing on. They don't care. They don't care if you're on headphones. Well, I say that. I know you've had somebody who wasn't too happy you were mixing on headphones.
A long time ago.
I've not had anyone ask me what I'm mixing on. And I just think they go with the end result. And I'm pretty sure, in fact, guys listening, and girls and theys and thems, I mean guys as in unisex, if I say that, I would love to know in the comments what ratio of social media cold marketing, word of mouth, and maybe another category you all get your work from? Because I know for me, it's well over 50% is word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
A few people through the podcast, one or two through social media, and virtually none through YouTube.
So in terms of seeing it like as, a business and doing it professionally, do you think that you still need to have some form of brand awareness in your studio? So if it is a pair of headphones, it would be a pair of Odysseys. If it's a speaker, then it's a speaker that's well recognisable. I mean, I do believe that, and what you talk about quite a lot, where it's true, the client doesn't have a clue like how good a pair of speakers are, which is why you will see Yamaha HS range in loads of places and KRK Rockets in places, because people go, that's in lots of studios I see, I'm going to go with that, not knowing that if you go into like what I'd call a proper, studio with like really, really high quality monitoring, again, you're not going to understand the difference between the Kali SM8 and the Kali LP8. You're not going to know the difference between, the Yamaha HS7 and, the Amphions that Ed's got, or like the Mums, or you're not going to know the difference. But, even still, I do think Paul's got a little bit of a point where for people to take you seriously, how do you manipulate that brand perception that is still important when you're thinking about a business, when you've got everybody choking each other price-wise, when everybody's trying to get ahead of everybody else? Like, what are the things that you can invest in? I mean, would you say, Ed, that half the battle is maybe just knowing somebody that's really good at photography, somebody's good at videography, like you, like in your, like, we talk about it quite a lot, where Ed was in that little box room in his flat, and for years everybody thought that Ed had like a proper studio, but it was your lighting, and it was, and if you know photography well, and you know how to, make things look appealing, which you're very good at with your B-roll and stuff, then,
I'm very good at making things look bigger than they are.
At least you can admit it, Ed. But you know what I mean, Ed? It's that thing of how much do you need to invest actually, realistically, into the branding, perceptual side of a mixing and mastering business? Is it a thing where it's brand awareness, or is it a thing where you've just got to make it look the part? How, where's that fine balance for you, in your opinion?
So I feel like we're coming at this conversation as if you were starting out as a professional, or trying to break out, as effectively as we are.
Yeah.
Now, I would say your gear status, as it were, could go one of two ways. And the average person creating music at home may not have heard of them.
Yeah.
So they might think, I don't know any of that. I can't relate to that. But if they see an Apollo audio interface, they might have a Scarlett, and they might be looking up at getting an Apollo as that, as their end game interface. They might think, I know that's good. The same with Adam speakers. I think Adam are a great example of a speaker that are so well known now, and of a good standard. I've got a video coming out comparing some Adam speakers against the head speakers. That's an interesting one. But as a brand, they have a lot of familiarity. So it might be that some people come to you because you have what they've heard of. It might not be, PSI speakers that quite a few, very few people have heard of relatively. Or Wes Audio gear because it's not in any of the big legacy studios yet. I'm sure it will be in the future. So that could go one of two ways depending on who your audience is.
Yeah.
But if you're dealing with people who are established in the industry and know what they're talking about, they'll have heard of Wes Audio, they'll know Amphion, they'll know PSI. And then at that point, I think you're getting beyond the realms of gear status being your selling point.
Yeah,
I think gear status works when you're trying to impress people who don't know better.
Yeah, it's a good point.
People who know better and who know the industry, they're not going to be impressed by how big your dick is. They're going to be impressed by how good you are at mixing and how well you are to work with. And people will eventually buy into consistency and loyalty and trust and a personal relationship, as we've discussed. But one thing I need to think about and really put into practice is everything that I know from live sound. My live sound company was busy because people trusted me that I was reliable to turn up and do a good job, be good with the client on site, deliver be good with the band, managing egos, and deliver a good, successful event without any, or as few problems as possible. Events just attracts different issues. That's a different beast. So when I thought about selling my business, I had a couple of offers to sell the business as a whole. And I was like, but they gave me really lowball offers because they knew that buying the equipment and the name wasn't enough. It was the relationships. That's why I was getting the work. That's why the guys I do sound with now get the work. They're very good at nurturing relationships. So with people in the know, I think it's just going out and nurturing relationships, which brings me to my next point, which is, where are you coming at this from? Are you coming at this from someone who's 20, 21, maybe fresh out of audio college, or maybe from another profession? Maybe you've worked in IT and you're coming into trying to do music full time and you don't know anyone in the industry? Or are you coming at it from my point of view, where I was, a professional musician and then a professional live sound engineer working with all the professional musicians in London, and coming into it and having a lot of contacts in music, albeit a lot of those people are mixing themselves as well. So it's a slightly difficult thing to break into. But, how are you building your network, I think is a big consideration. And as we've discussed, if having the biggest and best gear makes you feel confident, then fine. I'm not, let people do that. But if you feel confident in what you can do, I think that will shine through. A big theme in our lives at the moment is authenticity. That's what we're talking about off air, as what we were talking about earlier. And it's a big theme, I think, in both of our personal journeys. And I think that true authenticity, the more I think about it, is undeniable. It's honest. And people, I think true authenticity is like Marmite. People will love you or hate you. And if they don't like you, fine. Let them not like you. Because the ones that do like you will love you and come back. And so I think in terms of gear status, you got to think where you're coming at it from. But if you want to do it as cheap as possible, my strong suggestion is you're not going to be doing this with Beyerdynamic DT770s, a Behringer audio interface, and Yamaha HS7s. I hate to break it to those people, but you've got to be realistic. You've got to hear what you're mixing if you're going to do it professionally, and those are not the tools to do it with. Yeah. So I might just have a quick think what a minimum budget would be. But this is not to say you have to spend 10 grand on equipment on day one to become professional. Yeah, true. If you have a laptop that's like an M1, M2, fine. If you have an Apollo audio interface, fine. Paul's probably going to snarl at me here, but you could use headphones on those interfaces and get some mixes done and start getting your foot in the door. And then we get onto the subject of broader experience, like client expectation management. And, we've also been talking about that off air. There's maybe another episode coming to do with that. So, yeah, I've waffled there, but it's my mind went on a splurge of extra things to think about.
Yeah, it's important that Ed always has a bit of a rabbit hole, because it's always normally me that waffles.
The Working Audio Tools podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at DistroKid for all of your musical distribution needs. Don't forget, you can't just upload your songs to Amazon, Spotify, iTunes, or Tidal. You have to go through a music distribution service. There are many out there, but DistroKid is the one that Paul and myself use. They don't take any of your royalties. You keep 100% of the streaming revenue that you earn. For just $1.92 a month or $22.99 a year, you can upload unlimited songs. Your lyrics can be found in Google and other places. You get the blue Spotify verified checkmark, and you can create royalty splits between yourselves and fellow contributors. You also get access to the new DistroKid iPhone app for editing and uploading songs and accessing your statistics on the move. There are plenty of other tools available on DistroKid. We'll go through those in another section.
I think what's really, really important is what you just said there, which is to identify which, market that you're going into. And I think that what we need to do is we need to be quite hard on who we think this is kind of going to be for. And I think who this is going to be for is going to be people that are new to the game, that want to make a profession out of this. It could be locally, and it could be with the ambitions of maybe trying to get into the industry further down the line. So I think where you're right, Ed, is that I wouldn't advise Yamaha HS fucking 7s and blah, 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 even though they are, pretty well known. They're also pretty well known for being shit. And but the same caveat, right? The thing is with speakers, right, is that if you are going to do speakers and you want to mix professionally, you need to have a good room. So you need to put thousands into that room, and it's going to cost you thousands, right? Maybe not, because you can do a lot of DIY stuff and, you can make panels yourself. But to really, really, really get a good room, which is pivotal and critical if we're ever going to talk about mixing and mastering professionally, we're talking doing this at a high level. We're not talking just getting paid clients. We always believe you should do everything to the best of your ability. And with speakers, the room is a no compromise, in my personal opinion. I don't see the point in mixing on speakers if the room isn't right. End of. And if you do have a good room, then again, for me personally, investment-wise, I don't recommend really any speaker under £1,000 a pair. Minimum, I don't know. I would probably say, what Ed says, maybe get a pair of Adams. I would probably say, I don't know, MTM Precisions. That would probably be like low. No, actually, the head Type 07s. They would be, because they actually are a really good price right now. I'd say the head Type 07s would probably be where I would start to really do this professionally. But the caveat is you've got to have a good room. You've got to know what you're doing. You've got to invest the time into learning things like Room EQ Wizard and acoustics, and really understanding what a good room should sound like and also measure like. The two of them do go hand in hand. But obviously the sound is the most important, because translation, as we've spoken about, is key to doing this professionally. If you don't have good translation, you can't do this professionally. End of. Right? That's a non-negotiable. If your mixes don't translate well on average, then you can't do this professionally. That's a non-negotiable. So if you can't get the right room and you don't have the money to do it, then you're going to have to do headphones, and you can do it on headphones. As Ed said, topping DX5 Mark II. The good thing is, me and Emma are out on YouTube, and we're educating people. So you're seeing more and more people with Hyphaman and Nanos now, and they're at good prices. You can get Odysseys against certain ones, but again, under £1,000, you could get a very, 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 very high quality setup with great conversion, really good headphone amp, linearity, transparency, and you can have a sound that you can trust. Again, if you're on our Discord, then again you can get EQs and you can learn how we mix and how we use certain headphones. And if you want better translation, then you're going to have to pay more money, as what it is for the headphones. But I would say, to do it professionally, headphones is probably the safer bet. And again, it is just about how you market yourself. And as Ed said, I think you've got to make a choice. I think if you're going to do the audio animals approach, then you better have the shit to back it up. Like, they've got the shit to back it up, and they've got some of the best gear that you would want to get your hands on, and very good rooms as well. So they can do that, but to do that right, and to compete with people like Audio Animals and other studios, we are talking proper investment. So I would agree with Ed, probably don't think about speakers, just think about doing headphones. And in terms of your marketing, try and think about your marketing from an investment point of view with, get somebody who's a marketing expert and look at how other people in the game market themselves and use Instagram. Think about doing reels and investing time and money into a good camera setup, and just think about ways that you can get yourself into the algorithms. If it's YouTube, try and use YouTube. If it's Instagram, try and do it to the best of your ability. When you're trying to make a business of this and do this professionally, one of the biggest key things to put in your mind is, if you are going to do it right. Anything you do half-arsed is going to get half-arsed results. The only way you're going to get the best results is by doing it to the best of your ability and to the best of your budget. So, there are ways that you could get a kind of a moderately budgeted kind of headphone setup. I'm still not telling you that it's going to be under 600 quid, but under £1,000, you are going to get you can get a very good setup that you can trust still. like minimum. Just, I think if you're going to do the headphone route, then just be very mindful that there are people out there that aren't educated on mixing on headphones, and many people do naively believe that you can only do it on speakers because there's many people that are like, they're not educated in that part of it. And many people that are online see the studios, see the NS10s, see the big mains, see these big massive consoles and blah de blah de blah de blah. Like, you don't need it to do it professionally. But I do agree with Ed that from a personal point of view, how you come across to your clients is the thing that's going to allow you to save money in regards to not needing gear to kind of put yourself out as a business. There's a lot of good mix engineers that I see on Instagram that are very, very good at just making sure that when you're on their profile, they're busy. I was working on this such and such, and promoting the artist, doing little things like promoting your artists, telling them, if you come with me, I'll make sure I do a nice little reel for you, and I'll maybe do a before and after. And again, you're getting your mix promoted and you can share it on socials. And well, we live in a modern world. And I think that if you're going to, try and do this professionally in the modern world, then you need to have a bit of a modern mindset, because the mindsets that worked in the 80s and 90s don't work anymore. It's a different world. Fuck, we're all trying to fight against AI. And that's why I believe in authenticity. The only way to beat AI is authenticity. The reason that you watch this podcast is because me and him are authentic. I think that's one of the biggest things why you watch it, and it's one of the biggest feedbacks that we get. So if you don't have a lot of money to spend on doing it professionally, then you need to invest time and money on books. Try and get self-help books. Try and pay money to be in, with other engineers. Try and see how they work with their clients. Ask people's advice. If you need to be in a community they need to pay for and it works, then do that. Mix with the masters, for me, I've been on it, don't really see the benefit in it. You'd be much better to pay somebody to be a mentor for you. And, can I have time with you in the studio? Oh, wow. Oh, okay. I noticed what you did there. That was quite interesting. And ask questions. I think many people think they need to, invest money in gear, when a lot of the times what you need to do it professionally is to invest money in time and in people, because that is where you will probably get the best results. So I think we've covered, interfaces. Again, for an interface, you can get a topping, for example, a topping EAX, it'll cover you fucking, you even got mic preamps and shit in it. I'm glad we're not talking about tracking. We've kept this in mixing and mastering, because it can get very convoluted when you add tracking in. But just for mixing and mastering, Ed, I think that is kind of really all you need, is it? You've got a good computer, you've got a stable workflow, you've got a good template to work from. You take the time to do this at a professional level, which involves mixing, making a mistake, learning from the mistake, having a good portfolio, which is what we've talked about before, investing in a good website, what we've talked about before, your marketing, making sure that you've got monitoring that you and your clients can trust, and market yourself well in this modern day age. Even like the plugins, I like the fact that you just kind of went, scrap the plugins, because we are in a world now where you can mix professionally easily just on free tools, like tools that come with the DAW. Analog Obsession has got loads of analog fucking emulations if you want to go down that route. You can scour the internet and get a ton of great free plugins now, and you probably easily could work professionally just by using a good monitoring system and free plugins. Do I do that? No, because I'm always trying to get the best of the best. So there are certain tools that I like to use, and some of them can be expensive. But it's a thing where somebody made a very interesting comment on a video that I put out last, and it was kind of, I don't think he watched the full video, because I was like, you've kind of missed the point. But he was talking about, it's interesting how many people that own tons of gear and own lots of plugins and lots of software and own lots of stuff tell people that they don't need all that stuff that they've got. But I think it comes from a place of experience, because it's very easy when you're underconfident and you have a very small amount of belief and self-confidence, that it's easy for you to put your money in equipment and plugins, because you get drafted in, especially in the Waves days. You know what I mean? When it was all these signature plugins from CLA and Manny Marroquin and all these big engineers. It's easy to get drafted into thinking it's the tools that make the engineer. When actually, it's the skill, it's the ear, it's the monitoring, it's the experience that really, really works. So I don't know, Ed, is there anything you think that we've maybe missed in terms of minimum like investments to do this professionally? Yes, okay, go for it.
I think we need to talk about training and experience.
Okay.
Again, it depends how you're coming at this. You went to audio college. I learned.
Good point. Yeah.
I did a small module at university on production, but learnt most of my sound theory on live sound events, and then had a very interesting phase in the early days of this podcast, adapting from my live sound mentality to a studio mentality and to adjust my ears as well. But in terms of training, what really helped me for mixing was I did Streaky's first mixing course, and that really helped me figure out exactly how I wanted to set up my template in Pro Tools, which I still use. And I did his mastering course, which gave me some ideas that I would never have considered, and I'm grateful for those. And I've dabbled with a few other bits here and there course-wise, but the majority of my workflow came from understanding the basics of managing a session, like top down to bucket mixing. And then I formulated my sessions around those. So I would suggest some studying at some point. I mean, you can go through and figure it all out yourself if you want. I mean, YouTube is a fantastic resource, but if you want to do it quickly and efficiently, I'd just find someone you can relate to and like online. And if they've got a course, give it a go. If it's crap, tell them and get your money back. Most people are going to oblige you for that. If you genuinely like it and you get something out of it, great, you've learned something. I mean, whatever you do, don't be paying like £1,000 for a course. All these people are, 90% off this week only, every other week, and it's like 120 quid or something.
Yeah,
so
I know.
That'd be not to do any of these people out of money. I'm aware of that. Just may have come across. But I also don't quite like that very American way of, this course is $3,700, but today only is $49. It's like, come on, do you think we're stupid? Us Brits see right through all that shit. It doesn't work over here.
Yeah, Beato got stung for that a little bit. I watched the video and I think they were talking about that's the way Beato was doing it a little bit with his price structuring, where it's like certain times it was this price, or I was maybe somebody else. I think it was Beato or somebody else was getting stung for it, but it's a very American thing to do, isn't it?
The Working Audio Tools podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at DistroKid for all of your musical distribution needs. For a little bit more, $39.99 a month, you can have 2 artists on your roster, which includes everything just mentioned. Additionally, synced lyrics in Apple Music, further streaming analytics statistics. You can create a customizable record name. Mine, for example, is Ed Thorne Rhythm and Records. And you can customize release dates, pre-order dates, iTunes pricing, and again, much more. Now, if you're an artist manager or a record label, the Ultimate Bundle gives you up to 100 artists for just $89.99 a year. And you get 1 terabyte of instant file sharing, which is useful, but also contact information for thousands of playlist curators on Spotify. This is really useful so you can pitch your artist music to playlist curators around the world. Only available in the Ultimate Bundle from DistroKid.
What I like about this episode, Ed, and it's a good way to wrap it up, is that many people would have watched this video thinking, you're going to tell me to buy this, that, and it's all going to be about products, because that's what you need to do. Many people think that's what you need to do things professionally. Where, a lot of what we've talked about before, but it's always nice to remind people that there is so much more when we say investment, that investment isn't just financial. You also have your time, which still comes at a financial implication, dependent on, you could be working and you have to maybe do a part-time job to give you the time, to be able to fund, to do certain things. But it is a very, very long process to do this professionally. Like, I've been at this for a very long time. Ed's been doing this for a long time. And there's certain reasons why it's taken us so long. And that's why we've got this podcast, to try and help people maybe get there a little bit quicker. But if you do have the right tools to start with, then again, you will get the best results. But there is more than just tools. Hopefully from this episode, you can be reminded that, again, there's a lot of people training, because it is business. I'm very fortunate. I had 5 years in retail and sales. So I'm very good with people. I'm very good. Like, I know how to judge, even though I'm autistic. I've learned kind of how to judge when people are not interested, or how to keep people's attention, and, you know, certain sales tactics that's worked over the years that I can use in sessions. Because many people think that sales is, you know, our customer facing roles. It's audio. You got to be an audio engineer. That's the way it works. And I'm like, no, it's a people role. Like, you're dealing with people, so you need to make sure that, like, your email etiquette is up. You need to make sure that you're good at contact, and you're approachable. That's one of the biggest things. If you're not approachable, you will lose business. And there's so much of this that is so much skill, and there are tools that you need to invest in, and it is important. But at the same time, you've got the tools and you've got the people. And if you bring the two of them together, then you can definitely make a decent, you know, living as a professional. But you need to be patient. Patience is a virtue, and it's going to take time, and you just need to get the right... Basically, you need to get your house in order, and then you just need to give it time. Many people will sit there and go, I've invested all this money and I want an instant return. It's not going to work out like that. It really isn't. You've got to build up a clientele, and as Ed said earlier with his live sound business, you need to take the time for people to trust you. You need consistency. Like, the key to a good business is consistency. People will look on Google reviews. People will, you know, think about word of mouth. Oh, by the way, they worked on such and such record. Oh, right, they worked with such and such producer. Did you work with such and such? Yeah, he's a really good engineer. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, maybe I'll go with them. It's all about planting seeds. It's all about making sure that every relationship you build is a long-lasting one. That every client is going to come back. That if they're not happy, that you make it right. And you've got the tools to be ordered to make it right. The two of them are like, come together. I just don't understand why there's so many people out there that are so focused on gear. A business is you've got to keep the wheel turning all the time, and consistency is key, right? If your business is starting to slow down, it's because you're doing something wrong with the workings of your business. As you could have all the best gear in the world, but if you've not got the right people skills and you don't know how to deliver the right end product consistently, it'll never ever work. Gear is only good if it's in the right hands and the people know how to use it. You got people like audio animals that know how to use that gear and know how to use it to its best potential, but just don't get stuck in this place where you're starting to get out this professionally and you think that you need to invest all this money on stuff and it's going to make you a better engineer. If you don't know how it works, you don't know why you're buying it, it's a waste of money. You can't, I know it's frustrating for people to go, oh yeah, you're telling me you don't need to spend this, that, and that. You really don't, to do it professionally, because you can genuinely do professional mixing on a budget. We know many people that have got quite successful careers, you know, doing it on headphones, or again, working in their house, and, you know, they've just been slogging away at it for years and years and years and years and years, and they've just got the experience, you know what I mean? And over time, they've managed to put money aside and upgrade as they go. It's a journey, and you got to let it be a journey, and the investment is the investment. But just remember, signing off, investment isn't just financial, okay? Investment is money, but time as well. And if you don't have the time, the money is just going to go to waste. That's how I would end it.
Yep, and a key thing in all areas of the business is experience, which money cannot buy.
Yeah.
It can buy you access to multi-tracks to practice on, though, so that's useful.
Yeah.
We have covered a lot there, Paul. Well done. It occurred to me as you were speaking there that focusing on the technical side too much can be detrimental. And I thought about the name, the WorkingAudioTools.
Yeah.
This should be called the Working Audio Therapy Podcast.
Should be, shouldn't it? We go deep.
No, it won't be. But
No.
on that inspiring bombshell, it's been emotional. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned, and we will bring you more. We're not sure when, because we've got a lot coming on in the next few weeks, but stay tuned. We will be back.
Bye-bye.